Chapter 926, Been waiting for a long time. In the ancient dream realm, Zhao Feng used his crystal core as the foundation for his little world, and the blurry outlines of it started to appear in reality. At the same time, the aura of the ancient dream realm started to merge into it. It was almost as if it was created by the ancient dream realm itself. Wang tilde. Zhao Feng's left eye glittered, and a wave of golden light spread through the air. My little world currently only exists in a mental energy state, but it has bonded with the physical power within the crystal core. Zhao Feng's left eye was able to see everything. At the same time, he knew why the objects within the little world were different than reality. The objects of a little world were created by the power of one's foundation, and because most emperors only cultivated a single element, the objects also only had one element. For example, Duan Mu Cheng was a wood elemental sacred lord, so his little world was obviously based off the element of wood. There was almost no element of fire since it conflicted with his foundation. My crystal core is different from others. My little world will be more stable than others. Zhao Feng had a clear mind. Right now, his crystal core contained the elements of wind, lightning, water, wood, and fire. Zhao Feng even thought about whether his little world would fully materialize when he learned all 5 elements, but that was a bit far away from him right now. He had only cultivated up to the early stages of the 5 elemental wind lightning technique's 8th level and was still very far away from reaching the peak. It was best to form the little world of wind lightning first and perfect it as time passed. It's about time to merge the domain of wind lightning into it. A layer of wind and lightning appeared around Zhao Feng and started to howl and crackle. Boom. Zhao Feng controlled the domain of wind lightning and made it change shape. With the precise control of his left eye, the domain of wind lightning merged perfectly with the outline of the little world. Now all I need to do is consolidate it. Zhao Feng knew every step clearly. He needed to merge the crystal core dimension, the domain of wind lightning, and the outline of the little world together. This needed to happen in an orderly and steady manner. There was less than half a year remaining till the battle for Crown Prince, and the Ocean Smoke Pavilion was still making their way here because they were near the oceans. Pavilion Master Bai, have we come a bit late? Old Monster Shu smiled and asked. The Ocean Smoke Pavilion and the 10,000 Sacred Clan had teamed up, and Supreme Emperor Dark Knight was expanding the assassination organization. Even normal 3-star powers didn't want to offend them. Almost the entire area around the coast was now under the Ocean Smoke Pavilion's control, and Earth Spirit Hall had done nothing. The information agency of the Ocean Smoke Pavilion had expanded too fast, and they were all extremely busy. I believe that Master has already set down the path for us, Bai Kuang Yue said with certainty and a soft gaze. Master left with Sacred Lord Duan Mu. He must have joined the Duan Mu family and become part of the 13th Prince's force, Supreme Emperor Dark Knight guessed. The engagement between Zhao Yufei and the 13th Prince had been set for a long time, and even they knew about it despite the distance. Furthermore, the 13th Prince's forces were expanding even faster than the Ocean Smoke Pavilion. I believe in Master's eyes, Bai Kuang Yue said, and Supreme Emperor Dark Knight had an awkward expression. Bai Kuang Yue relied too much on Zhao Feng, and she was willing to follow Zhao Feng despite the Dark Heart seal. However, Supreme Emperor Dark Knight was different. He still wanted to escape Zhao Feng's control 100 years later. He would still remain in the assassination organization and help Zhao Feng, but he didn't want to stay a slave forever. Although the 13th Prince is young, he is favored by the Sacred Emperor and Empress. Adding on the fact that he has a strong force behind him, it is very likely that he'll be able to win even against the 4th Prince, who is currently the strongest, Old Monster Shu analyzed. If their master entered the Imperial Tombs and helped the 13th Prince as well, the prince would have an even bigger chance of winning. Right now, we are in the Gan province, and we're only one city away from the Great Gan Imperials. Bai Kuang Yue had a joyful expression. She would be able to meet her master soon. Apart from the 3 of them, there was also Zhan Jie, the black-robed emperor from the 10,000 Sacred Clan, and several kings. A cold laughter suddenly sounded and passed through the physical and soul dimensions. It made everyone's heart shake, and they immediately stopped moving. All of you still want to go to the Great Gan Imperials? I've been waiting here for a long time. A figure in black robes and covered by darkness shot over like a black meteor. His demonic pressure turned everything within 1,000 miles dark, and the kings immediately spat out a mouthful of blood and quickly changed directions. The figure covered in darkness was like a demonic sovereign as they gazed down at the group from the Ocean Smoke Pavilion. "May I ask who you are and why you are stopping us?" Old Monster Shoe's expression fell as he stood forward. It was obvious that this person was an enemy from their tone and aura. Supreme Emperor Dark Knight flashed out and blocked the Sacred Lord's aura for the members behind him, otherwise John Jir and the Kings would have been suppressed to death by the aura alone. On the other hand, Bai Kuang Yue was shocked. Nine Darkness Palace. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss. Ha ha ha, do I not have the right to take care of all of you since the Ocean Smoke Pavilion betrayed Nine Darkness Palace? Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss laughed in an arrogant manner. Nine Darkness Palace? Everyone's heart fell. Being a peak 3-star power, Nine Darkness Palace was one of the strongest demonic Dao forces, and they were an enormous monster compared to them. Even though the Ocean Smoke Pavilion had expanded very quickly, they were still unable to compare to this behemoth. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss in particular was an old Sacred Lord that was usually in seclusion, and his strength was unfathomable. The Ocean Smoke Pavilion never belonged to Nine Darkness Palace in the first place. Bai Kuang Yue's eyes were decisive. The Ocean Smoke Pavilion was now a 3-star power, and it was even more stable than other normal 3-star forces. They still had plenty of room to expand, and it currently had 2 Sacred Lords. They believed that Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss wouldn't dare to attack them if they entered the city that housed the Imperial Palace. Bai Kuang Yue believed that whichever prince was supported by Zhao Feng would become the crown prince, and at that point, Nine Darkness Palace would have to think it through multiple times before taking action against the Ocean Smoke Pavilion. Humph, if I say it is, then it is. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss snickered coldly as his gaze went cold, and his pressure increased dramatically. How dare a measly emperor go against him? Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss felt rather dissatisfied by what Bai Kuang Yue said. All of you retreat. Old Monster Shoe had a solemn expression. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss was stronger than they first thought. Any random shockwave from a battle between Sacred Lords could kill normal kings. Even Bai Kuang Yue, who had the strength of a peak emperor, had to retreat. A bunch of ants. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss gave a smile of mockery as he looked at the group from the Ocean Smoke Pavilion. Merely 2 beginning stage Sacred Lords want to stop me? The black light surrounding Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss suddenly expanded and shot through the air like 2 black tentacles. A chaotic demonic Daora swept towards Supreme Emperor Dark Knight and Old Monster Shoe, making their hearts shake slightly. Just as the 2 sides were about to fight. Whoosh! A surge of bright magnificent power in the form of dragons appeared from afar and made countless beings bow down instinctively wherever it went. Stop! The voice of a powerful male descended. Duke Ninfeng, what is the meaning of this? You want to meddle in my business? Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss's expression changed slightly as he looked at Duke Ninfeng, who was rushing over. Duke Ninfeng. The expressions of those from the Ocean Smoke Pavilion turned joyful. Zhao Feng and Duke Ninfeng had a good relationship, and they believed that Duke Ninfeng wouldn't just do nothing. Supreme Emperor Dark Knight and Old Monster Shoe both let out a breath. The aura that Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss just released a second ago was too terrifying. Now that they had Duke Ninfeng, they felt slightly confident. Luckily, I made it. Duke Ninfeng let out a breath in his heart when he saw that no one from the Ocean Smoke Pavilion was injured. Luckily, he had given orders for his subordinates to inform him as soon as the Ocean Smoke Pavilion came to the Gan province, and he immediately started rushing over when he heard the news. He had promised Zhao Feng that he would take care of these guys. If something happened on his watch, then it would be extremely bad. At the same time, he didn't expect Nine Darkness Palace to actually send Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss over. Zhao Feng is the Grand Elder of the Ocean Smoke Pavilion and my friend. I can't just sit here and do nothing when you're trying to kill his subordinates. Duke Ninfeng didn't fear Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss's questioning, and a surge of invisible providence radiated from him. The image of a faint dragon could be seen revolving around him. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss's eyebrows furrowed slightly. In theory, Duke Ninfeng's actions weren't incorrect. The Ocean Smoke Pavilion was once Nine Darkness Palace's subordinate, and Zhao Feng forcefully taking it has enraged the upper echelon of Nine Darkness Palace. If he wasn't hiding in the Imperial Palace, no one would be able to save him. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss started to use his own justification when facing Duke Ninfeng, but his demonic pressure actually increased. There was also another reason why they wanted to kill Zhao Feng and those from the Ocean Smoke Pavilion. Nine Darkness Palace had sent 4 emperors after Zhao Feng, but they had all been killed by him. If Nine Darkness Palace just let go of Zhao Feng, where would they put their face? Nine Darkness Palace stands behind the 13th prince but is attacking the forces of the 9th prince. The 13th prince doesn't know of this, right? Duke Ninfeng said. He was using the rules of the Battle for Crown Prince to restrict Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss. The Battle for Crown Prince didn't allow the princes to do anything that damaged the forces of the other princes. Those from the Ocean Smoke Pavilion were surprised. Didn't Zhao Feng leave with an elder from the Duanmu family? Why did he join the 9th prince's faction? Furthermore, of all the princes to side with, the 9th prince was ranked quite low and had a slim chance of becoming the crown prince. Ha ha ha, Zhao Feng is just helping the 9th prince as an individual. If the Ocean Smoke Pavilion wants to join the 9th prince too. The 9th prince hasn't agreed to that, right? Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss laughed. He had already thought about all of this before he came out. Duke Ninfeng's expression changed. This was indeed true. In order for any power to join a prince's faction, the prince had to agree to it themselves. But why would any prince reject a free 3-star power? Thus, this point was ignored and forgotten about by many people. Duke Ninfeng, I encourage you to mind your own business. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss snickered coldly and immediately took action. Even if Duke Ninfeng wanted to stop him, he was still going to kill everyone from the Ocean Smoke Pavilion. Whoosh! 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 Demonic light surged around Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss, and countless tentacles were unleashed. These tentacles looked like they belonged to an ancient beast, and the air became tense as the hearts of all the other sacred lords went cold. Late stages of the Mystic Light Realm. Duke Ninfeng choked on his words. Chapter 927, Favor. Note: Supreme Emperor Dark Knight is still called an emperor because it is a title, not a cultivation rank. Late stages of the Mystic Light Realm. Duke Ninfeng choked on his words. He didn't expect Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss to have reached the late stages of the Mystic Light Realm after exiting seclusion. This meant that, even if he teamed up with the 2 Sacred Lords from the Ocean Smoke Pavilion, they still wouldn't be Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss's match. Old Monster Shu and Supreme Emperor Dark Knight felt a strong surge of power as they faced Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss, and their bodies started to toss and turn. They felt unable to breathe due to the pressure. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss was like an unrivaled deity. Late stages of the Mystic Light Realm. Old Monster Shu was stunned. He and Supreme Emperor Dark Knight had only become Sacred Lords not long ago, so they were still a bit away from normal beginning stage Sacred Lords. Furthermore, Supreme Emperor Dark Knight was an assassin. In a head-on battle, many of his techniques couldn't be used at all. However, even if they could use their full power, it would still be useless against a late-stage Sacred Lord. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss completely suppressed them in terms of cultivation. Those from the Ocean Smoke Pavilion that had retreated 1,000 miles away felt that something is wrong as well. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss's aura suddenly rose to an unimaginable level. They felt their hearts shake even from here. Duke Ninfeng also felt helpless. Boom. Countless demonic tentacles shot out from Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss and charged towards Supreme Emperor Dark Knight and Old Monster Shu like a predator meeting its prey. Supreme Emperor Dark Knight turned into a dark streak of light that suddenly split apart and dodged the attacks while disappearing into the air. Old Monster Shu used all his mystic light sacred power to retreat, but the tentacles seemed to be infinitely long. After missing, they simply changed directions and continued to attack at the same speed. It twisted and turned in an attempt to surround them, and they never gave up. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss just stood there and watched coldly, as if he was the god of heaven and earth. Heaven-suppressing demon seal. As the tentacles were about to catch up to Old Monster Shu, he circulated his sacred power and released a seal of white light. This white light had a pure aura that could suppress the power of demons. Boom. Old Monster Shu's scared hand seal clashed with several tentacles. Bam tilde. In front of the absolute mystic light sacred power, Old Monster Shu's secret technique was completely destroyed. The demonic tentacles passed through the sacred power and shot furiously toward Old Monster Shu. At the same time, Supreme Emperor Dark Knight suddenly appeared behind Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss and stabbed a shadow-like sword that glittered with a black light toward him. Humph. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss snickered coldly, and he didn't even move against Supreme Emperor Dark Knight's ambush. The air behind Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss started to twist as a tentacle shot out toward Supreme Emperor Dark Knight with a chaotic and destructive aura. Whoosh! The instant Supreme Emperor Dark Knight's secret technique clashed with the demonic tentacles, a flash of darkness split off and hid. Shoo! Supreme Emperor Dark Knight's doppelganger and the demonic tentacle both shattered. Supreme Emperor Dark Knight had given up one doppelganger just to destroy the demonic tentacle. He couldn't get close to Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss. In the clash, Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss didn't even move, and yet he was able to force the two Sacred Lords into a desperate situation. Duke Ninfeng stood on the side and witnessed this with shock. I can't just keep on watching. The dragons around Duke Ninfeng suddenly rose and broke through the restrictions of his power. Whoosh! Just as Duke Ninfeng was about to take action. Jang! An immortal sword intent appeared, and it seemed like it could slash through the heavens. An ancient green-tattered sword sliced forward and radiated a sharp aura that seemed to be able to force back the heavens. A white figure formed from sword light appeared behind the tattered sword. It was the figure of an elder with a long mustache who gave off an immortal soul sword intent that pushed back all the tentacles. So close. Old Monster Shoe's heart shook as he looked at the ancient green-tattered sword in shock and didn't know what was going on. That is an ancient god weapon. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss's face was filled with shock. It had to be an ancient god sword for it to be able to cut through his demonic tentacles so easily and give off such an immortal sword intent. The white light behind it also contained the laws of the soul sword. This was the only ancient god weapon that had appeared in the Divine Illusion dimension. Furthermore, Little Sword Saint Gu Yue from the Sky Sword Pavilion had obtained the recognition of the ancient god weapon and transformed into a soul sword that merged with the ancient god weapon and became its weapon spirit. Because of this, there were rumors of the Sky Sword Pavilion returning to its former glorious 4-star days. Why is the ancient god weapon here? Duke Ninfeng was surprised and puzzled at the same time. The power of the ancient god weapon was indeed shocking. Senior Sword Saint. A girl in black started to slowly fly over. It was the prodigy of the Sky Sword Pavilion's younger generation, Mo Dongyao. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss' expression became grim. Why was the Sky Sword Pavilion interfering too? Furthermore, Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss could feel a hidden sword intent not far away. This made Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss stop. At this moment, a voice sounded from the image of the Little Sword Saint, Sacred Lord, I owe Zhao Feng a favor, so I can't just do nothing. Hearing that, Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss boiled with anger. Zhao Feng again. What the heck did Zhao Feng do in the Divine Illusion dimension for Little Sword Saint Gu Yue to owe him a favor? You're just the weapon spirit of an ancient god weapon. How much power can you even use? Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss said coldly. Mo Dongyao was completely ignored by him because her cultivation level was too low. His attention was mainly focused on the hidden sword intent. The Sky Sword Pavilion would definitely not allow the ancient god weapon and their prodigy to appear in the outside world in such a casual manner. There was definitely a peerless sword Dao expert protecting them in secret. However, when he thought about it, that was what Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss wanted, because as long as he didn't harm Mo Dongyao or plan to steal the ancient god weapon, the Sacred Lord from the Sky Sword Pavilion wouldn't do anything. This will be much easier then. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss revealed a deadly smile, and killing intent flashed in his eyes as he looked toward Old Monster Shoe and Supreme Emperor Dark Knight. He wasn't scared of the ancient god weapon. He had to kill those from the Ocean Smoke Pavilion, but the ancient god tattered sword suddenly released a glow of light and landed in Duke Ninfeng's hand. Jang. Duke Ninfeng paused for a moment before understanding what the Little Sword Saint wanted. Wang tilde. Duke Ninfeng, who was surrounded by light dragons and holding the ancient god weapon, instantly released a world-shaking sword beam that shot into the sky. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss' magnificent aura crumbled against the immortal sword intent. The figure of the transparent Little Sword Saint behind Duke Ninfeng released the intent of the soul sword. Their combined force changed the color of the sky, and it seemed like they had become a peerless sword saint. What is this? Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss was dazed. Was this even possible? With the addition of Draconic Providence, Duke Ninfeng had the battle power of an early-stage Mystic Light Realm, and with the help of the ancient god weapon on top, his battle power easily exceeded the late stages of the Mystic Light Realm. Supreme Emperor Dark Knight and Old Monster Shoe were filled with excitement. The current Duke Ninfeng gave off a peerless pressure that stunned heaven and earth. As expected of an ancient god weapon, Old Monster Shoe sighed. Sacred Lord, I only owe Zhao Feng a favor and don't want to be your enemy. The voice of the little sword saint within the white light sounded in the soul dimension. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss, the battle for Crown Prince has already begun, and all the forces of the Great Gon Lord dynasty have been swept into it. No one knows what will happen in the future, Duke Ningfeng said as he gave off a powerful pressure. Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss looked toward Duke Ningfeng and understood what he meant. Nine Darkness Palace had lost a large quantity of middle echelon fighters and even a Sacred Lord in their attempts to deal with the purple-haired demonic duo. If he was injured as well, all because he wanted to deal with a junior at the Void God realm, it wouldn't sound good, and it would probably affect Nine Darkness Palace's progress in the future. Now that the Peak 3-star Sky Sword Pavilion had gained the recognition of the ancient god weapon, no one was certain about what could happen. Fine. I'll give Duke Ningfeng and the Sky Sword Pavilion face and let all of you live, Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss's voice sounded as he gave himself an excuse that he could use to step back. Humph. The demonic tentacles in the air started to contract and turn into black scales that covered Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss as he started to leave. The pressure of a demonic Tao Sacred Lord also started to fade away. Many thanks to the Sky Sword Pavilion for helping. Those from the Ocean Smoke Pavilion gave their thanks. I've repaid Zhao Feng's favor. If there's nothing else, I will be leaving. The ancient god weapon left a streak of green light as it landed in Mo Dongyao's hand, and they left. At this moment, within the ancient dream realm, the sky was bright and sunny, but a part of the forest was covered in a storm of wind and lightning. I've formed the basic structure of a little world. Zhao Feng sat in the middle of his little world. Wind and lightning roared around him, but it had no effect on him. The true yuan within his crystal core slowly filled every corner of the little world, just like how blood was pumped to each and every limb. He could feel that he was the lord of this little world and controlled everything within it. He even had a slight control over the laws of the ancient dream realm. To use a little world, one would materialize it into reality and control part of the laws of reality. At this point in time, Zhao Feng's little world was only a couple 100 meters wide, which was nothing in comparison to the Nine Darkness Sacred Lord's 1,000-mile-wide little world projection. The power of my little world isn't enough. Looks like the connection between the domain of wind lightning and the crystal core dimension isn't strong enough. Zhao Feng's left eye could see through everything. The structure of the little world must be extremely strong or else it would be hard to perfect it in the future. On a certain day, dark clouds filled the air above the ancient dream realm, and flashes of lightning could be seen. Is it here? Zhao Feng opened his eyes. Chapter 928, Disadvantaged. Dark clouds filled the air above the ancient dream realm as a wisp of lightning started brewing. Is it here? Zhao Feng was extremely excited, but his eyes were solemn. He had formed his little world within the ancient dream realm because he wanted to wait for the next storm. Ever since he had this idea, he wanted to give it a try, comprehend the little world of wind lightning during an ancient dream realm storm. Plop. 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 The sky started to turn dark as drops of rain fell from the sky. When the raindrops entered Zhao Feng's little world, he felt that it was starting to become chaotic. He couldn't control the raindrops that entered his little world. Right now, I can only control what I create in my little world. I'm unable to affect other objects, and other objects can even affect the stability of my little world. Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed together, his little world was too weak. However, he didn't remember that he was in the ancient dream realm. If he returned to reality, his control over space would surpass a newly formed little world of a normal emperor. The raindrops from the ancient dream realm also contained a lot of ancient ore that was completely different from the dimension he lived in. In order to control these raindrops, he needed to have a deep understanding. In order to affect the laws of the ancient dream realm, he needed to understand the origin of the ancient dream realm to a certain degree, and Zhao Feng was extremely far away from that step. Boom. The rain got bigger, and the occasional flash of lightning appeared. Zhao Feng raised his head. The storm this time is much smaller than last time. Even though that was the case, Zhao Feng's little world started to turn transparent when the raindrops fell into it, as if it was going to disappear any moment. A light flashed through Zhao Feng's eyes as he circulated his crystal core dimension. A surge of wind lightning through yuan instantly flowed to every corner of the little world, and the outline of the little world around Zhao Feng became a bit clearer. An occasional flash of lightning appeared in the dark clouds. Below these dark clouds was another layer of half-transparent clouds that was ravaged by wind and lightning. This scene was extremely weird, It was as if there were two skies in one world. Like this, Zhao Feng started to feel the faint aura of wind and lightning among the rain of the ancient dream realm. The little world changed with his mind and started to slowly become realistic. Boom. A crackle of lightning sounded from above Zhao Feng's head and caused his little world to unleash a torrent of lightning bolts. The pressure of something that ruled over everything in the world appeared, and a strong sense of danger made Zhao Feng's left eye give out a warning. Not good. Boom. 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 A giant bolt of lightning landed right where Zhao Feng was standing and left behind a black crater. Everything within 10 meters had disappeared. There was still smoking and burning black pieces of wood nearby. The Yao bird and python in the tree looked at the hole with puzzled eyes and shaking bodies. The next instant, a golden-haired youth appeared in the very center of the black crater. The giant python and Yao bird witnessed all of this and thought nothing of it. While the cultivation of their master wasn't very high, he had the ability to move like a ghost. So close. Zhao Feng was relieved. He was in the process of comprehending, so his sense toward the outside world was weak. If it wasn't for the warning of his left eye that woke him up, he would have been killed by the lightning bolt. Lightning shouldn't have fallen in such a weak storm. Looks like it was attracted by my little world of wind lightning. Zhao Feng analyzed. This was the first giant bolt of lightning that had fallen since the storm showed up. The little world of wind lightning was still in its beginning stages, so its ability to attract lightning was nothing compared to his sacred lightning body. If he circulated his sacred lightning body here, it would instantly attract several bolts of lightning. Furthermore, the weather was getting worse, so the chances of ancient lightning descending would become bigger. This meant that Zhao Feng might need to leave the ancient dream realm at any moment, so he didn't dare to spread his little world of wind lightning anymore. After collecting some wood that contained some ancient lightning nearby, Zhao Feng sat down in the very middle of the hole. There's only 2 months left till the battle for Crown Prince. I must finish the early stages of my little world by then. Zhao Feng had a clear mind. For normal emperors, forming a normal little world within a year meant that they were a peerless prodigy, but with Zhao Feng's analyzing and learning ability, 4 months was enough. However, the little world of wind lightning he wanted to form contained the intent from the ancient dream realm and was far more difficult than a normal little world. Once Zhao Feng finished the early stages of his little world, its power would be able to easily suppress a normal emperor's little world, similar to how Zhao Feng wasn't even able to last 3 breaths the first time he entered the ancient dream realm. Several forces stood within the 9th Prince's palace. Many kings and emperors stood on the side. Only some 3-star powers, experts with noble ranks, and sacred lords were allowed to speak. Supreme Emperor Dark Knight, Old Monster Shu, Duke Nanfeng, and Josué were all here, but the atmosphere was tense. 9th Prince, are we really going to give the position of Beast Tamer to Zhao Feng? A muscular middle-aged male had a dissatisfied expression. His every movement and action gave off a powerful force, and this was still under the basis that he was trying to conceal it. The 9th Prince's expression was also slightly grim. In reality, he had wanted to give the Soul Specialist position to Zhao Feng, but the latter already told everyone that he was the Beast Tamer. In addition, the Ji family originally supported him, but after learning that Zhao Feng was a member of the 9th Prince's force, they immediately left and joined the 8th Prince, which was a big blow. When the 9th Prince went to ask why, the elder from the Ji family replied as such, with Zhao Feng present, it'll be hard for the Ji family to gain the position of Soul Specialist. The 9th Prince was helpless, but since the Ji family had already joined the 8th Prince's side, it was no use no matter how he explained. However, Zhao Feng's support also gave the 9th Prince some other supporters, such as Duke Nanfeng and the Ocean Smoke Pavilion. To a certain extent, Josué was also supporting him because of Zhao Feng. Well, Zhao Feng is also an extremely talented beast tamer, the 9th Prince smiled and replied. He believed that Zhao Feng would use his true skills and not trick him. Duke Nanfeng and the members of the Ocean Smoke Pavilion were all puzzled as well. While Zhao Feng was indeed a talented beast tamer, his personal battle power and mysterious eye bloodline techniques were far superior. However, the members of the Ocean Smoke Pavilion didn't have any right to question Zhao Feng's choices. The muscular male said no more. He was from the Shi family, which was the only member of 8 big families standing behind the 9th Prince. He wasn't fighting for the position of beast tamer, he was just thinking of the group, and he hoped that each member was the best possible choice for their position because their opponents were simply too strong. In the original report of overall strength, the 9th Prince was ranked 6th, but now it had dropped to 7th. This meant that, in this period of time, the other princes had met more fortune than the 9th prince. The 8th prince, who was originally ranked 7th, was now ranked 4th and even had the momentum to fight for the position of crown prince. The current members had no confidence when facing the terrifying groups of the other princes. Shi Yulai, as long as we work together and use Shan Qi's tactics, we have a chance, Old Ying's voice sounded. We can't jump to rash conclusions right now. Anything can change, and staff-wielding elder with a white beard said slowly. Shan Qi was once a famous sage who knew divination, but no news of him had been heard for many years. His appearance surprised many of the older generation. A sentence from each of the elders instantly calmed everyone down. Tomorrow is the fight for the positions. Zhao Feng still hasn't come out of seclusion? A dissatisfied voice sounded from the elder of a normal 3-star power. The fight for positions was the final obstacle to confirm the positions and usually didn't take too much time. For example, the 9th prince had 7 slots in total. Zhou Zuer was extremely famous for her healing abilities, and no one would be willing to challenge her over it. Even if they thought they had a chance, they wouldn't dare to. Shi Yulai was a prodigy of the Shi family who had awakened his bloodline, and he was from an earlier generation. The Shi family was the biggest force behind the 9th prince's back, so no one would try to take his spot. In fact, if the Shi family wanted to take a second spot, the normal forces wouldn't dare to say anything. Furthermore, there were 2 more unique rules in the fight for the positions. The first was that only the forces that supported the specific prince or a neutral force had the right to challenge the position. The second was that the challenger's cultivation couldn't exceed the person with the position. For example, if a beast tamer wanted to challenge Zhao Feng, then this beast tamer couldn't come from any force behind any of the other princes, and their cultivation couldn't exceed Zhao Feng's. With all these restrictions, the fight for the positions wasn't really that complex or exciting as one might imagine. If Zhao Feng doesn't come out of seclusion by tomorrow, then we'll just have to interrupt him. The 9th prince felt slightly helpless. He remembered how Zhao Feng entered seclusion during their first visit as well. However, the 9th prince was slightly looking forward to it. Zhao Feng was one of his core members, so it would only be good for him if Zhao Feng became stronger. Hu tilde. An aura suddenly appeared, and the expressions of all the experts changed as they looked outside. His Highness 9th Prince, I'll be interrupting you. A powerful elder in dark red robes stood outside the hall, and his pressure caused all the experts in the hall to start breathing more heavily. Next to him were several others from the Tai family, and one of them was a pretty female who scanned her eyes urgently across the hall. Senior Hongnan, tomorrow is the fight for the positions. May I ask why you're here? The 9th Prince gave a faint smile as he went forward. The Tai family was one of the best among the 8 big families and was no weaker than peak 3-star powers. They currently stood on the 4th Prince's side. I'm here to find Zhao Feng. Tai Hongnan's voice resounded across the hall, and no one dared to stop his disrespectful actions. Even the elder representing the Shi family bowed their head and didn't speak. Although they were both from one of the 8 big families, the Shi family was nowhere near the Tai family, who guarded against the non-human races in the northwestern region. Furthermore, this Tai Hongnan wasn't some random member of the Tai family, he was an old sacred lord. Senior Hongnan, Zhao Feng is still in seclusion. The 9th Prince had an apologetic expression. Are you sure he is not just hiding from the Tai family? Tai Hongnan's expression turned slightly angry as a wave of fiery aura spread and pressured all the other experts present. Their souls started to tremble, and the true yuan and blood within their bodies were about to burn. Chapter 929, Exiting Seclusion. Are you sure he is not just hiding from the Tai family? Tai Hongnan's expression turned slightly angry as a wave of fiery aura spread and pressured all the other experts present. Their souls started to tremble, and the true yuan and blood within their bodies were about to burn. The hearts of Old Monster Shu and Supreme Emperor Dark Knight faintly shook. The aura that this Tai Hongnan displayed was on par with Sacred Lord Demonic Abyss. No one present dared to say anything in the face of a Tai family Sacred Lord's interrogation. Grand Elder, Zhao Feng is indeed not here. Tai Lishan, who was next to Tai Hongnan, scanned over the place and said. The Tai family knew that Zhao Feng was in seclusion, so they waited till now, but Zhao Feng was still in seclusion the day before the position fights? This made them suspicious that Zhao Feng was purposely avoiding the Tai family. Tell Zhao Feng to come out. I want to talk to him. Tai Hongnin's terrifying aura spread once more across the hall and transformed it into a burning hell. Senior Hongnin, this isn't good. You're supporting the fourth prince, but you want to disturb a member of my team from cultivating? The ninth prince had to say this, and he believed that Tai Hongnin knew what he meant. These were the rules for the fight for crown prince. The forces behind each prince couldn't disturb the subordinates of the other princes. The ninth prince not giving in to the pressure of the Tai family made the experts within the hall feel good, but at the same time, they could clearly feel the difference between them. The fourth prince didn't just have the peak 3-star Tai family behind him, he also had the Dong family and 2 Grand Duke palaces. Even the 4-star Sky Suspension Palace stood behind the fourth prince. There were also countless 2-star and 3-star forces. And yet, the Tai family alone scared everyone from the ninth prince's side. Grand Elder, why don't we just wait a while? Tomorrow's the day for the fights, so Zhao Feng will definitely come out of seclusion by then. Tai Lishan's expression changed slightly as he said. Even the Tai family didn't dare to disobey the rules set by the Imperials. Fine. But if Zhao Feng hasn't come out of seclusion by tomorrow, I will take it that he is not going to participate in the fight for the positions, meaning that he won't be considered a member of the ninth prince's force. Tai Hongnin looked at the ninth prince with a hint of praise, but then scanned over the other experts present with a threatening meaning. After Tai Hongnin and the others from the Tai family left, the temperature of the hall returned to normal, but it was now dead silent. The ninth prince felt helpless. If the Ji family was here, they would have been able to put up a fight in terms of momentum and not lose so much morale. At this moment, a kind-looking male in dragon robes walked over. Xiang, don't give up. Although there aren't many forces behind you, all of your team members are elites and full of potential. 11th uncle. The ninth prince's expression changed slightly, and he felt extremely unwilling. Being the leader, everyone had reached this stage for his sake, so he couldn't show any signs of wavering. The ninth prince's eyes lit up. He couldn't let everyone down. At the same time, those who had gained a spot felt confident and full of anger. I believe everyone is outstanding and won't be replaced by anyone else in the fight for the positions tomorrow. The ninth prince looked toward a handful of the people. Those that didn't belong to a force could join in the fight for the positions, but these individuals wouldn't dare to take a position from a strong force and would only go for the weaker forces. The next day, the draconic providence of the entire Great Gon Lord dynasty started to move, as if a golden dragon was about to awaken. The draconic providence swept over every direction. There were 10 arenas in the biggest martial arts field in the Great Gon Imperial Palace. The martial arts field was surrounded by a hall where the princes and their forces spectated. Above the Imperial Palace in the clouds 1,000 miles away were countless experts and forces. Pavilion Master Bai, tell Zhao Feng to come out of seclusion. The ninth prince faintly shook his head. Did Zhao Feng actually forget about the fight for Crown Prince? Being the Ocean Smoke Pavilion Master, Bai Kuang-yue didn't want to interrupt Zhao Feng, but she had to at this point. Bai Kuang-yue faintly nodded her head and left toward where Zhao Feng was in seclusion. At this moment, Tai Lishan was already slowly walking over. Your Highness Ninth Prince, has Zhao Feng still not come out seclusion? Everyone's heart fell. Someone from the Tai family had already come. If Tai Hongnin did what he did yesterday and questioned them in front of all the forces of the Lord Dynasty, what should they do? Right as they were worrying, a voice sounded, Ninth Prince, I've come late. Zhao Feng walked over with an apologetic expression, and all the forces around the Ninth Prince looked over. Zhao Feng's infamous name spread throughout the Great Gon Lord Dynasty 4 years ago, but he had always been in seclusion after arriving at the Imperial Palace, so no one had seen him or his beast-taming abilities. However, he was able to take an important position. The Sacred Lord from the Tai family came yesterday because of Zhao Feng as well. Adding all of this together with Zhao Feng's infamous name caused them to be quite dissatisfied with Zhao Feng. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhao Feng was the Grand Elder of the Ocean Smoke Pavilion and had a good relationship with Duke Ninfeng, they would have already persuaded the Ninth Prince to take away Zhao Feng's position. Zhao Feng, it's okay as long as you came. The Ninth Prince had a faint smile as he inspected Zhao Feng. The elder from the Shi family had a surprised expression. The life force and body strength of this junior is on par with Shi Yulai. One had to know that the Shi family was traditionally a body-strengthening family, and Shi Yulai was a genius from the previous generation who had awakened his bloodline. Zhao Feng, The Grand Elder of the Tai family invites you over to have a talk. Tai Lishan inspected Zhao Feng once again with a complex expression, but he didn't hide the praise in his eyes. At this moment in time, Zhao Feng had reached the late stages of the Void God realm, but he gave off an unfathomable feeling. His steady aura surpassed most ancient emperors, and his golden eye made one feel uneasy. However, what made him most excited was that he could feel Zhao Feng's perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline had become even purer. There's nothing for me to talk about with the Tai family. Zhao Feng immediately knew what Tai Lishan wanted to talk about as soon as he saw him. Back then, he told Tai Lishan that he was cutting the original owner's ties. Zhao Feng, regardless of anything else, your body belongs to the Tai family, and the blood of the Tai family flows through you. That is reality, you can't escape from it, Tai Lishan persuaded. If Zhao Feng returned to the Tai family, he would definitely become a supreme expert of the Lord dynasty. The thought of his perfect bloodline held a tinge of hope for the Tai family to become the strongest 3-star power, and perhaps even a 4-star superpower. Escape? Zhao Feng didn't think as such. He was never trying to run away. If one wanted to count every single Tai from the past, it would never end. Escaping was only what the Tai family thought was happening. They thought that Zhao Feng was avoiding them. Fine, I'll come with you. Zhao Feng sighed as his gaze became decisive. There had to be an ending to this. The Tai family was one of the strongest powers, and it was an enormous force that was deeply connected to the Imperials. If he didn't resolve this misunderstanding, it would drag on forever. Who? Seeing Zhao Feng follow Tai Lishan, the 9th Prince's forces let out a breath. They knew a bit about Zhao Feng, and while they were envious, they were puzzled at the same time. Why didn't Zhao Feng just join the Tai family in the first place? Zhao Feng's appearance caught the attention of many experts from the 13th Prince's Hall. The square-faced Grand Elder of the Duanmu family and Duanmu Qing looked at Zhao Feng with a complicated expression while the 13th Prince and those from Nine Darkness Palace had killing intent in their eyes. The 4th Prince's Hall was silent. The huge number of terrifying existences made some 2-star and 3-star forces afraid to even breathe out loud. At this moment, Tai Lishan appeared with Zhao Feng outside the hall. Zhao Feng. The 4th Prince looked at Zhao Feng and felt that he was steadier than before. At the same time, the other experts within the 4th Prince's Hall also inspected this golden-haired youth. Zhao Feng, we meet again. Sin Wuheng had a faint smile. He and Zhao Feng both came from the same hometown, so he was extremely happy that he could meet Zhao Feng again in the Continent Zone. It's Zhao Feng. Xuan Yuanwen's eyes glittered with a surge of battle intent. Now that he had started to gain control of the substandard god weapon, he wouldn't be caught off guard again like what happened in the Divine Illusion dimension. Zhao Feng? A red-haired male with a cold gaze from the Tai family looked over. He had heard that an elder of the family had found the perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline outside. Furthermore, Zhao Feng's display in the Divine Illusion dimension was also extremely outstanding. Even Xuan Yuanwen was at a disadvantage against him. You are Zhao Feng? Tai Hongnin's eyes were like fire, and they glittered with a weird red light as he looked at Zhao Feng. Fenger. The pretty female with furrowed eyebrows and pale expression behind Tai Hongnin cried out. At this instant, everyone was calling out Zhao Feng's name. This made the mouths of the various 2-star and 3-star representatives fall wide open. Even the elder from Sky Suspension Palace opened his eyes and gave an interested glance toward Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng stood there with a calm expression. His golden eye scanned over everyone and memorized what they said. At last, his gaze stopped on Tai Hongnin. So strong. This was the only thing Zhao Feng could say. He was several dozen times stronger than the Nine Darkness demonic lord back then. The casual pressure from Tai Hongnin made his body feel heavy, and he felt unable to breathe like he was bound by ropes. Is this the sacred lord from the Tai family? Zhao Feng started to secretly circulate his sacred lightning body. Tai Hongnin looked at Zhao Feng with a fiery gaze and secretly circulated his secret technique. Zhao Feng instantly felt as if he was being burned, and the Blood Devil Sun bloodline within his body started to boil as if it was going to erupt at any moment. Boom tilde. A faint blood-red light surged from Zhao Feng and covered his body. Good. Perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline. Tai Hongnin's face was filled with joy and excitement as he stood up and spread his terrifying fiery aura. Chapter 930, Start of the Fights. Good. Perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline. Tai Hongnin's face was filled with joy and excitement as he stood up and spread his terrifying fiery aura. If it wasn't for the fact that the Imperial Palace was made from strong materials and had the protection of draconic providence, this hall would have crumbled already. Everyone looked at the glass-like red light glowing from Zhao Feng's body with shock. Perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline. This was a powerful bloodline that could be ranked within the top 10 of Imperial Dao bloodlines. If the Tai family was able to control this bloodline once more, it wasn't impossible for them to become a 4-star power in the future. The heart of an elder from the Dong family rose into the air, and the expressions of all the forces changed. The red-haired male next to Tai Hongnan felt the blood within his body boil. Perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline, the red-haired male thought as he looked at Zhao Feng with battle intent. Zhao Feng's expression was grim as he opened his golden eye, and an ancient and desolate aura was released from the mysterious golden ball in the dimension of his left eye. The Blood Devil Sun bloodline within his body instantly shook and calmed down. Tai Hongnan was still lost in joy by Zhao Feng's Blood Devil Sun bloodline, but he suddenly realized that it had been suppressed. Tai Hongnan looked at Zhao Feng's eye and was faintly shocked. This kid also had a powerful eye bloodline within his body, and the feeling this eye bloodline gave him wasn't any weaker than the Purple Star Eyes bloodline of the Ji family. Even he couldn't see through it. Different unique bloodlines had appeared in the Tai family in the past, but there was never an eye bloodline. This should be the original Zhao Feng's eye bloodline. Tai Hongnan already had his guesses. A bloodline that was able to suppress the Perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline was definitely not normal, but there was no similar eye bloodline among the Imperial Dao bloodlines ranked higher than the Blood Devil Sun bloodline. Could Zhao Feng have a bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races? Tai Hongnan's expression instantly changed. That was the only possibility. He originally wanted to force Zhao Feng to stay in the Tai family and make a few children for them, but now Zhao Feng's eye bloodline had caught his interest too. It was extremely rare for someone to have two powerful bloodlines. As long as they didn't die, they would become beings that could move the clouds of the entire continent. The Tai family could raise a genius like this. Furthermore, since Zhao Feng had these two bloodlines and didn't have a problem, that meant that they didn't conflict with one another, and his descendants could inherit both bloodlines. The Perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline and an ancient eye bloodline. Tai Hongnan felt his blood boil. If the Tai family was able to obtain a powerful eye bloodline no weaker than the Ji families, they would be able to surpass their former peak and reach a height never before seen. Zhao Feng, are you willing to join the Tai family? Tai Hongnan asked in a calm voice. He used a different tone than before, as if he was talking to a junior of the Tai family that had been lost. I've already said I'm not from the Tai family and that I'm not interested, Zhao Feng replied without even thinking. He could tell from Tai Hongnan's gaze that the Tai family was thinking about his left eye. If he joined the Tai family, he would start to lose control of things, and the secret of his god eye might be discovered. There was no way to guarantee that the Tai family wouldn't do something nefarious. Zhao Feng, the blood that flows through you is the blood of the Tai family. I even brought your mother here today. Tai Hongnan was slightly surprised, but he didn't get angry and continued to speak. He understood what Zhao Feng was like from Tai Lishan's report, so he had many other preparations. Fenger, it's me. Your mother. The pretty female behind Tai Hongnan instantly went forward and cried out. She knew that her true son was gone, but it was enough that this body was her son's. She would rather watch Zhao Feng live on, and she would do whatever it took. I only have one mother. Zhao Feng looked at Tai Shilai and then Tai Hongnan with a decisive gaze. If they hadn't abandoned the original Zhao Feng in the first place, this wouldn't have happened to them. There was a reason for everything. Zhao Feng, you know that the body you are currently using belongs to the Tai family. Tai Hongnan was someone that was easily enraged, and his tone changed when he saw Zhao Feng so decisively refuse to give him any face. No, Sacred Lord, the original owner of this body was called Zhao Feng of the Zhao family. Zhao Feng had already thought of what to say when they mentioned the body being from the Tai family. Some of the current people present didn't quite understand what was going on, but they could slowly start to tell from this exchange. Zhao Feng had taken the body of a member of the Tai family who was originally abandoned somewhere, and he managed to awaken the Perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline. However, the current Zhao Feng wasn't the previous Zhao Feng anymore, and he showed no signs of wanting to join the Tai family. However, against the pressure of the Tai family, was not wanting to enough? Some of the 3-star forces and families had grim expressions. Zhao Feng had such a birth? Zhuan Yuanwen had a headache. So, it was the Perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline. Sin Wuheng remembered how part of his true yuan was mysteriously sucked away when he fought Zhao Feng in the divine illusion dimension. I'm a part of the Ninth Prince's force right now, Sacred Lord. Isn't forcing me to join the Tai family a bit? Zhao Feng gave a faint smile as he continued to speak. Technically, Tai Hongnin's actions were already going against the rules of the fight for Crown Prince, and because they were in the Imperial Palace right now, Tai Hongnin didn't dare to take action. Tai Hongnin's expression turned red with anger. A measly Void God Realm King who wasn't even part of the Tai family dared to reject his invitation in such a tone. Being an elder of the Tai family, he had never met such a situation before. An invisible fiery hot aura rose, and the kings and emperors within the hall felt dry. Senior Hongnin, please calm down. The fights for the positions are about to start. The fourth prince immediately got up and stopped Tai Hongnin's anger. After bowing, Zhao Feng left the fourth prince's hall. Let's go. The fights for the positions have started. The fourth prince quickly calmed down, and 10 members with powerful auras stood up. Zhuge Yun, Zhuan Yuanwen, Sin Wuheng, and the red-haired male were part of these 10. After leaving the hall, Zhao Feng headed straight for the arena. The arena was made from a heaven-grade material and contained many arrays. Even beginning stage sacred lords could only barely damage it. The arena was protected by arrays and draconic providence to protect against any shockwave. At this point, the ninth prince's subordinates were all sitting in the arena already, including Old Ying, Zhou Su'er, Shen Qitze, and Shi Yulai. There was also a middle-aged male with a steady aura and a slim cold female in black clothes. This was the ninth prince's team for the battle to become crown prince. Each of them specialized in a different point and were all extremely talented. Apart from Zhou Su'er, the others were all from the previous generation or even older. Zhao Feng, why did the Tai family want to talk to you? Zhou Su'er immediately asked when Zhao Feng sat down. It wasn't exactly a small matter that Sacred Lord Hongnin from the Tai family personally came to find Zhao Feng. The other members were all curious as well. Zhao Feng and Tai Hongnin's conversion was stopped by a barrier, so only those within the hall could hear. They could only see Tai Hongnin become extremely angry, so they wanted to know what made Tai Hongnin so angry. The cause of all this still had a casual expression. He wanted me to join the Tai family, Zhao Feng simply replied, and everyone apart from Old Ying and Shen Qitze stared at Zhao Feng with open mouths. They had only heard of Zhao Feng's name, they had never actually witnessed his abilities before. What kind of talent did Zhao Feng have for the Tai family to send Tai Hongnin to personally invite him to join the Tai family? If you don't want to tell me, then don't. Zhou Su'er became slightly angry and didn't believe him. She thought that Zhao Feng was just making that up. The others all thought that Zhao Feng was joking as well. Ridiculous. Shi Yulai harumphed coldly. The Tai family was one of the strongest amongst the 8 big families. How could an elder of the Tai family invite someone with a different surname to join them? Now that all the members of the arena had arrived, the fights for the positions began. This one is Zhou Wenwei from Elegant Wind Hall and would like to test Senior Jing Kai's strength. A skinny middle-aged male walked out. His eyes were clear and full of confidence as he challenged the male in the group who had a steady aura. Elegant Wind Hall was a normal 3-star power that supported the 9th prince but hadn't obtained a position. The male with a steady aura next to Zhao Feng walked out. At this instant, fights had already started in the other arenas. It was either an exchange between arrays, soul strength, or a head-on fight. Zhao Feng circulated his left eye and watched all the exchanges with a 360-degree angle. Only by knowing every opponent did one have hope to win. Zhao Feng revealed a faint smile. After defeating a Grandmaster Beast Tamer 1.5 years ago with a spiritual pet from the 10,000 ancient races, news should have spread by now, and so he most likely didn't need to do anything. Boom. Jing Kai released his condensed aura, and a sparkling gold light that seemed to pierce through everything moved around his body in a certain pattern. On the other hand, a long green sword appeared in Zhou Wenwei's hand. It gave off a cold glow of light and summoned whirlwinds when it moved. The two emperors instantly clashed. Jing Kai's attacks were continuous, and the golden light was everywhere. On the other side, Zhou Wenwei was agile and had sharp attacks, but Jing Kai controlled the match from the beginning so that Zhou Wenwei was forced to dodge and defend. Pierce. The golden light around Jing Kai suddenly formed into a transparent sword that shot forward. At the same time, wooden roots appeared in the ground and blocked Zhou Wenwei's paths of retreat. Boom. Zhou Wenwei's body was pierced through by 10,000 beams of light and thrown off the arena as blood spurted out from his mouth. "Thank you for going easy on me, Senior Jing Kai." Zhou Wenwei was taken away by an elder of Elegant Wind Hall. The members of the Ninth Princess group who didn't know Jing Kai well now knew a bit about his strength. He had sharp metal elemental attacks, and he specialized in the element of wood as well, which could support him and catch others off guard. This was indeed an outstanding battle member. An expert that specializes in the elements of metal and wood, Zhao Feng murmured in his heart. Jing Kai's control of these two elements was on point. The element of metal was used for attack while the element of wood was used for healing and support. They synergized well and didn't conflict with each other.